You know, fashion has always, from my eye view, has always been a place where a lot of people go and express themselves, and I guess that's the opportunity for them to get out there, you know, how they're feeling, how they want people to look at them and stuff like that. But, you know, from looking through fashion through your eyes, and since I've known you for the last 10, 11 years, you know, I could see why your perspective of things getting weird. A lot of lanes is being blended together, and things are not necessarily making sense, right? So I guess when I see your post sometimes, I guess that's probably where you're coming from with, you know, things not, you know, working out so well.
It's not really about working out so well. It's more or less that, like, being weird is deemed fashionable today.
Okay.
So it's like, just because you wear some of the wildest stuff that you can find,
right,
doesn't make you fly.
That is true.
Or if you spend all the money on a mannequin fit and say, yo, I got Dior, and then you walk outside, it's like, oh, I'm him. Like, all right, let's take it back, right? So, like, fashion has always been like an expression of hip hop, the times, the culture. Now, today's mindset, like being from New York, right?
Yeah.
We don't have a staple. There is no New York fashion.
Right.
And that's all based on the internet. Like, there is no regional fashion for any area. We knew what people from down south dressed like. We knew what LA people dressed like.
Right.
New York had its own fashion, whether it be aviated, what was it? Avrex, Tim's.
Right.
At one point, Nike boots. But now it's just like, we look like the dudes from Atlanta.
Right.
And the dudes from Atlanta look like dudes from LA.
Right.
And then everybody in between look like each other.
Well, I kind of know why things are going that way, right? Obviously, because, you know, the world is way more open now because of the internet, right? People are seeing different things. You're able to see exactly what somebody's doing in places like California, Atlanta, whatever like that, based off of following people on Instagram and stuff like that. So I can see why those worlds are blending. And it's so funny you said how, you know, hip hop and fashion obviously going together, with this year being the 50-year hip hop, right? Mm-hmm. Hip hop is 50 years old. So it's funny that you know, we're doing this interview, and obviously you being the age that you are and growing up through different eras, especially in the 90s.
Talk about my age, bro.
I mean, you still young, but I mean,
thank you. I appreciate it.
You seasoned.
I appreciate
it. You've seen some things.
A little sazon.
Yeah, you seasoned. It's fine. It's cool. It's nothing wrong. Listen, like I always say, people should never worry about their age or getting older, because unless you're a drug dealer or mom and pop left you some family money, I don't know young people that's really getting it. Okay. You know what I mean? I always look at it when I run into people a little older, they're the ones who really got the money and got the experience. So I've never looked at old ages as something that, you know, you shouldn't be proud of.
Copy.
You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. That's how I view it. But back to what we were talking about. You know, I can see why you feel that way about fashion. I can see why the worlds are being blended. Like, you know, the internet has done a lot of great things for people, but it's also, because there's no rules on the internet and how things are, a lot of worlds are being blended, right? If you want to take a parody from like Spider-Man in the multiverse or whatever like that, things are just kind of like blending all over the place. So nobody's having an identity, right? It's like you can pull up back in the, like you said, in the 90s, 2000s. If you was from New York, you can go to another area, and by the way that you dressed and looked and moved, people are like, oh, he's from New York. He's from New York.
But that was a flex though. Like,
and that was a flex, yes. That was a flex. Specifically, like, yo, they'll ask, are you from Brooklyn? That would be the first question or whatever like that. You from Harlem or whatever like that. You know, you Queens or whatever, depending on how your fit is. But yeah, to your point, and especially how the younger generation is moving now, there is no kind of like New York kind of flag where it's like, yo, this is how we dress in New York. This is how we move. Everything is being blended. And like you said, it is getting crazy with, like, you know, with wearing the weirdest thing is the coolest thing. And then I always had a question. I always had this question, especially like I used to ask it like when I used to go to FIT, when I used to go to college, I used to ask like the fashion designers. I say, yo, when y'all put together, y'all go on the show, when y'all put together those mannequins, y'all put together those fits, is that meant for somebody to actually go and buy and put on that fit? Do you do it? And they say, you know, sometimes the mannequin fit is just for the stylistic look of what they're trying to put together for like a showcase, right? For you to come into the store to see. It wasn't necessarily like if I was a stylist, I would put somebody specifically in that. Now, with certain pieces, staple pieces that you would, you know, like for example, like the velour suit is a very good example of like, yo, when you buy a velour suit, that's something that's supposed to go together. You buy a tracksuit, something supposed to get. Those are things that in fashion we knew that you had. That the Adidas tracksuit goes together. But to your point, you know, when you get into high fashion, nobody want to see somebody walking around in a full-on Gucci printed suit from head to toe, the Dior head to toe, and it look like you just not willing to put things together. Instead of buying the one piece and say, you know what, let me style a jacket with something else. Let me style the pants with something else. Let me style the shoes with a whole nother fit that has nothing to do with the Dior brand. So I can understand like where you're coming from with that, you know, so.
See, but the thing is, right, the way high-end fashion is really cultured and cultivated, it's not really geared towards urban.
Right.
So it's designed more for a high-end look. The fashion, like that.
Even though they steal everything from urban.
Understood, but the actual way it's presented on the runway,
Yes.
whether it be Paris, whether it be New York, whether it be Mulan, wherever the show is at itself, the way you see it on the runway isn't presented by us, the culture.
Right.
Right? But the marketing dollars is never spent on black people.
Correct.
Right? So my